Evening everyone, welcome back to the channel. So tonight we're going to be reviewing this, the legendary BOSS DS-1 Distortion pedal. So let's get it unboxed then, shall we? What we've got here, some instructions, QR code to an owner's manual. We've got here some documentation. Don't think we're going to need that, everybody. This is what we're interested in because it doesn't come any simpler than this, really. Here we go. The BOSS DS-1. There we go. One of the most legendary, pedals on the market. Instantly recognizable, bright orange, built like a tank, right? So first of all, I think we'll start just talking about the design of this. I mean, I guess, 90% of guitarists are not going to have any complaints with this. This is on pedal boards all over the world. The design has stayed the same since day one. BOSS have stuck with it. They thought, if it's not broke, why fix it? Which is fair enough. But I just think there's a couple of things I just want to point out here, right? So first of all, is this thumb wheel, which gives you very quick access to the battery compartment. There you go, right? Now, which is great, okay? But I've always thought most people are going to be using the power supply. So why sort of put the focus on the battery compartment being easily accessible from the front with this on, if most of the time they're not going to be using the battery. I've always thought a better design is pedals where they have like a clip-on hatch at the back. Just makes it cleaner. And also the idea that the actual foot switch is the front face of the pedal on a sort of hinge here. I kind of prefer the ones where it's just the switch, like the electro-harmonics pedals, I like that. The other thing I prefer about electro-harmonics pedals is, I think these BOSS compact pedals, they're quite high. They sit quite high on a pedal board, which means, for me anyway, they tend to wobble a little bit more than something that's a little bit more compact. Less height on it. So yeah, just a couple of things. The other thing is, with these pedals, a lot of them come with the 3 knobs. This comes with tone, distortion, and level. On this pedal, the level control is the smaller of the 2 types of knobs. So you've got better access to tone and distortion than you have to this, which is a little bit smaller and a little bit more fiddly. Now, let's see in the test, but maybe this is going to be more, the level is going to be a more set and forget type thing, and we're going to be needing to tweak these a lot more. Maybe that's something that BOSS have already thought of. Maybe it's a mistake. They're not all like that. Sometimes they have the level and the overdrive distortion here and the tone in the middle, but we'll see. Anyway, just a small thing. Also, obviously there's the 9-volt power supply if you need it, and it's just a simple guitar input, guitar output. That's it. Built like a tank. These don't break. I've never had any BOSS product break on me, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, these were first brought out in 1978, and like they're still around. People have still got these and they still work, which is amazing. Yeah, so just want to talk a little bit about the reputation of these pedals. Now, this is one of the most famous and recognizable pedals, not just distortion pedals, on the market, really, and has been for decades. Some people love them, some people hate them. This is the first time I've owned one of these. I think the closest I've came pedal wise, tone wise to one of these is probably a Proco Rat. And that sort of featured in one of my guitar pedal shootout articles that I did on the blog, so check that out. But yeah, I didn't like the Rat really. It sort of maybe because I was running it into a Fender amp which didn't have much mids, but for me it was very cold sounding and sort of very twitchy. It was very hard to get a sound that you wanted and then keep that sound. It was very, very fiddly. So yeah. And the winner of that shootout was actually the BOSS BD-2, the blues driver. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is historically I have preferred overdrive pedals, you know, something like a BOSS SD-1, or, you know, an Ibanez Tube Screamer, or just, you know, any of those sort of, you know, master in the box type pedals. But I've kind of steered away from distortion pedals of finding them a bit, like a lot of people say, fizzy, cold sounding, clinical, you know, not organic, not transparent, you know, all those type of things. Now, but the thing is, a lot of famous players have used these and are using these, you know. People like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Gary Moore when he was alive, you know, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, John Frusciante, Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, this has famously been used. Prince, there's another one. You know, to great effect by, you know, many famous guitar players. You know, Gilmour didn't use the DS-1, pardon me, but he did use a Rat. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, not all the best players just stick to overdrives and amp drive. You know, this is featured quite heavily on a lot of records over the years, and with brilliant guitar tones. So yeah, so digressing a little bit, historically, I have gone down that road. I've gone down overdrive, amp drive. But you know, a few years ago, I went to a very simple sort of live gigging setup, which was a BOSS Katana and a BOSS ME80, which is, you know, a very, very simple setup. And it had, the ME80's had a range of, you know, overdrive distortion models. Now, I have to say the best one was the Turbo DS, and that's the one I used live for a few years. And I know this isn't the Turbo Distortion, the DS2. This is the DS1. But yeah, it was then where I sort of got the idea of, right, okay, so distortion could work for me. Because the thing is, overdrive, you know, it is very sort of full sounding, but it's, you know, I found as soon as you backed off your guitar volume, it just turned to mud. And I found distortion to be a lot more sort of dynamic and cutting to sort of play through in a live scenario. You know, maybe it wasn't as pretty sounding, I guess, as an overdrive pedal, but it did the job, you know, and it cut through the mix. It had the volume and you could hear it, and you could, you know, had the gain, could get the feedback, everything like that. So it just did the job. So anyway, fast forward a few months, you know, gigging's finished, and I'm now in a sort of situation where I'm at home. I've got like a little Marshall DSL-1 amp, which has got its own overdrive pedal. Sorry, it has got its own overdrive channel. You know, it's got the classic gain and the ultra gain. But you know, even with the ultra gain maxed, and especially, you know, using single coils, you know, just sometimes you just fancied another pedal, an overdrive distortion pedal, just to have a bit of fun with it, you know, just to kick it over the edge. So I'm thinking, oh, you know, shall I go for a BOSS SD-1 again? You know, pretty safe option, pretty predictable. You know, do I go for something like a treble booster or just a normal booster. You know, I'm a big fan of Brian May. Or, and this did get us thinking, do I go for the DS1? Because I was sort of thinking fuzz. I did entertain the idea of getting a fuzz pedal as well, but then I'm thinking, no, that's going too far. I think this is the sort of the balance, something a little bit left field for me, not predictable, you know, tons of gain, tons of versatility, and it is versatile. You know, a lot of players have said this is not a very versatile pedal, but yeah, I just thought this would just be something a little bit more interesting, and a little bit fun. Plus, you know, it is legendary. It has been going since 1978. Great players have used it. So I'm thinking, you know, what's all the fuss about? That's the other thing. What is all the fuss about? So yeah, it just to talk about the sort of bad reputation of these pedals as well. I think a lot of people have sort of plugged this directly into a clean amp, like a Fender style clean amp with no real mids to them, and have instantly got, you know, a very fizzy result, you know, with the tone at 12 o'clock or whatever, and they've just gave up on it straight away, and then went towards, you know, amp overdrive or something like a Tube Screamer or an SD1, which is fair enough, and I've been down that road myself. So there you go. So that's the full kind of backstory about this pedal, why I bought it. So what I'm going to do for you, I've got me Marshall DS-1 1 watt valve amp. I'm going to run that, you know, clean, overdriven, and then sort of lead tones into both. I've got my Fender Player Strat, which admittedly it hasn't got low output pickups, and people have said this works best with low output pickups, but the Player Strat's actually got only 5 single coils, which are pretty hot, you know, compared to vintage style single coils. And I've also got my Epiphone inspired by Gibson 60s Les Paul Standard, which has got Pro Booker 2 and 3s in there, I think. So, you know, hopefully it's going to give you a good idea. Oh, sorry about that. It's going to give you a good idea what this is capable of. Right, so let's get going, I think. So, first of all, let's plug it in. As simple as it gets, and the light is going on. Now, oh, sorry, I'll just put that there again. So let's start with the pedal off, obviously. Right, okay, so, sorry about that. So this is just the clean Marshall on the classic gain. Bit of reverb, EQs all at 12 o'clock. Now, as you can see, the DS1, also everything at 12 o'clock, and this is what it sounds like. So, bypassed, DS1. So, immediately, that's the sound that's going to sort of turn most people off this pedal, right? And that's because they go into a shop, they go into a clean amp, they've got the tone at 12 o'clock, they've got the distortion quite high. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to just back the tone off to, let's say, 9 o'clock. and it's still a little bit spiky, so we're just going to back it off a little bit more. Bit more. And as you can see, right, it is definitely possible to get a good, you know, basic distortion overdrive sound out of the DS1 directly into a clean amp. You know, and it's pretty dynamic sort of overdrive distortion as well. I mean, that's full volume on the guitar, and then just backing off the volume. So it's not just going to mud like it would a Tube Screamer, you know, or even an SD1. It's got that dynamic range to it, which it's great. So I like that. So let's just have a play about with the volume. So that's pushing the amp harder, which now it's, you know, pushing the amp's valves into overdrive, which is making it more smoother, more mids. Now let's just back off that tone a little bit more. And bear in mind, this is the bridge pickup of the Strat, so that's the spikiest position. So, you know, here's position 4. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to back off the volume on the amp a bit. I'm going to keep it at full volume on the pedal. I'm going to max out the distortion and then just back off that a bit more. Right, now I'm going to go for 0 tone. That's the neck pickup, by the way, the Strat. So worth pointing out that this is going into a Marshall, right? So this has got that mids, that something like a Silverface Fender doesn't, right? So another point I want to make is, you know, this is what a lot of people say the DS1 can't do. You know, this can't go into a clean amp and sound good, right? Now, I think this does sound good. But what we'll do is, just for fun, we'll just bypass the pedal, right? And then we'll go into the natural overdrive of the amp. I don't know if you can tell on the video, but there's a ton more bass, right? But if we just flick back to the clean channel on the DS1, I think that's probably going to cut through a mix a lot better than it would with the amp distortion. Let's just try that again. So there you go. You know, compared to the amp distortion, I still think that the DS1 is holding up really well. And this isn't even its forte. This is just going into a clean amp. Now then, right, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to crank up the clean amp. I've cranked up the clean amp so it's distorting. So this is the tone, which is a bit loud. so I'm going to compensate with the volume of the pedal. See, now it's dark because we have introduced gain into the amp, so now we can sort of start to increase that tone control. And now you've got the bass, and now it sounds massive now. Bit more on the tone. Bridge pickup. That's like yes. Right, so now what we're going to do is back on the distortion channel. Right, so now we're going to just dial in some overdrive onto the amp. That's pretty mild overdrive, but that'll do. So this, in theory, is where, you know, the DS1 should really start to shine. I mean, I think it's been great so far. I mean, let us know what you know in the comments, but what people have said about this pedal into a clean amp, I don't think it's right. I think it depends on your setup. You know, you've got to have mids through your amp. It does work better when you've got a bit of gain as well. So let's just see what this is like. So this is with still EQ still flat on the amp. Increase the volume. So there you go, you can have loads of fun with feedback even at this point, you know. And this is literally the gain on the overdrive channel of the amp is like on 9 o'clock, you know, so I'm not just past a quarter really. I'm just going to back off the tone a little bit and just back off the distortion even, because, you know, it is starting to get a bit noisy there, but that's full distortion. There you go. You know, this is not allowed a noisy pedal. It's just good fun to play with, isn't it, really? So I'm going to back off that tone to 0 again. You know, so even with the tone off, you know, it just sort of gets thicker and thicker and thicker as you go anti-clockwise. Let's see what happens if you start going past 12 o'clock. See, I mean, that's not a disaster as some people have said, but if it goes past there, you know, yeah, okay, it is starting to get very tinny at that point, but, you know, guess what? This is just me, you know. Some people, you know, they might be into metal and stuff like that, heavier, you know, more aggressive tones. They might want to use some of that, you know, clockwise direction on that tone knob. I don't, but that's what's great about this pedal. It's versatile. You can do what you want with it. You know, I can use this half, other people can use the second half. You know, I don't think it's a case of, oh, it's unusable after 12 o'clock. It depends what you're using, what guitars you're using. Remember, this is a Strat. You know, single coil, spiky. You know. Anyway, I think I've proven that little point there. So now I'm gonna now kind of max the gain on the amp. Now, you know, as I was saying, you know, there's quite a bit of gain in this amp, you know, on the ultra gain channel. You know, it's a Marshall, it should be, but this is max gain with a Strat, you know. Sometimes you just want that little bit more, right? You want that little bit more that's not in the amp. And that's the reason, one of the reasons why I got this pedal as well. So, okay, so max gain on the amp, right? We need to back this right off. I'm going to back the distortion off. So that's the result. Now, see, when you go to max distortion, though, you know, it starts to get a bit silly. But let's just try it with, again, you know, 12 o'clock, but the volume maxed. It just gives you that endless sustain. I mean, I'm going to try and do, you know, that Gary Moore Parisian walkways on the Les Paul in a bit. But yeah, that's what it gives you. It gives you that extra bit of oomph as well. So, but it doesn't just give you that. That's the point. It can give you a really good basic overdriven distortion tone. You know, if you want to use this into a clean amp and have it as your bass overdrive, lots of players have done that. There's no reason why you couldn't use this as just your dirt pedal, you know. No reason at all. But it works for other things. I think this is one of the most versatile overdrive distortion pedals that you can get, and I think I've just sort of proved it there, I think, a little bit. So anyway, so that's the Strat, right? And that makes the Strat sound massive. You know, you get endless gain even on these pickups. And I think also, you know, people have said, oh, it only works on lower output pickups. I think I've just kind of proven there that it does work on hotter pickups as well, because these aren't, you know, these aren't low output pickups. Interesting. Anyway, let's switch over to Les Paul. I'll just turn that off. I'm just going to go back to the clean channel. Right. Oh, sorry about that. Right, okay. I think we're good. Right. Okay, we're back. Right, so Les Paul. Again, clean channel of the amp. This is the clean. This is the clean. So, much higher output pickups on this. These are, I mean, still vintage though. You know, these are not metal pickups. These, I think these are Pro Booker, 2 in the neck and 3 in the bridge. But this is the bridge pickup. And it's about, we're about 9 o'clock on the gain on the clean channel, and it's starting to sort of overdrive already. And it's got an amazing neck pickup in this, I think, as well. And you know, just in case I forgot to tell you, you know, the Strat was a Fender Player 1 Strat, not the Player 2, with 3 single coils. What I'm playing now is an Epiphone inspired by Gibson 60s Les Paul standard. So the kind of full fat Les Paul. Anyway, right, let's go. So 12 o'clock again, I think, on everything, on the DS-1. Again, I haven't even touched the EQ on the amp. Everything is just set to noon. Clean channel, a little bit of gain. This is what the DS-1 sounds like. Oh. And again, instantly fizz, right? So I don't think most people that are sort of coming from like a bluesy rock type direction don't want to be going anywhere near 12 o'clock on the tone. Though I think you want to be starting 9 o'clock, right? There we go. Now, the difference I've noticed on the Les Paul is, with the Strat, I think, you know, the distortion didn't really veer into fuzz, into fuzz territory much on the lower strings, but on the Les Paul it really is. I mean, such a thick sounding overdrive, that much thicker sounding than the Strat. So what, it's just, you know, it is a sound if you're going for that sort of fuzz effect. But if you want to go for more of an overdrive effect, let's just back that tone control to 0. There you go. So it can, well. I'm super impressed with this pedal. So all the things that people have said about this pedal, you know, it can't work on high output pickups. This has got high output pickups. It sounds great. Even into a clean amp, it can't work into a clean amp. Blah, 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 blah. It's too fizzy sounding, right? I think people give up on this pedal too quick. It just needs a little bit of tweaking with the EQ, perhaps a tone. So you know, this is what I'm going to try to do as well, is just back off the gain on the clean channel a bit, because I think I'm introducing a little bit too much gain. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back off that tone to 0. I'm going to max out the volume, because I think that adds a bit of fatness as well. And that is really fat. So let's just increase the distortion. I'm almost at presume walkways already. Right, tell you what, neck pickup. Nearly. But remember, we're on the clean channel, right? So let's just back that off. But you know, it's still a great sound. And if I'm being honest, I think this works better on the Les Paul than it does on the Strat, you know, which might be why Gary Moore used it, you know, all those years ago. There is a bit of a sort of, it does fatten the Strat up, you know, it lends a bit of cut, even more cut, and I wouldn't say spikiness, it just, yeah, it's got a nice top end on the Strat to really cut through. I don't think it's harsh. It just depends where you've got the tone control. But I think on the Les Paul, what it's doing is you've got the bass fatness of the Les Paul, and what this is doing is it is just giving you that crunchy bite on the top, which is just beautiful. You know, and that's with the tone control off. And then you just introduce a bit more treble, I guess. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Right, so now I'm just going to take off the tone down a bit, because now I'm going to max out the gain on the clean channel. So this is, you know, kind of a pushed valve amps clean channel with, you know, a bit of distortion, but there's going to be a lot more gain now on the, because I'm using the Les Paul. So there you go. There's a ton of gain on that, and it's sounding pretty mushy, right, with it max. So let's see what the DS1 can do with that. Yeah. So we're going to introduce some tone. Oh wow. Let's just see what happens if we just max the distortion. There you go. So now we can get that tone just from a kind of a pushed clean channel. I'll just back off the tone a bit. Listen. Could be there all day with that. Brilliant. So there. Don't think there's really much more to say about that. Through a Les Paul, this pedal sounds amazing. But I think with the Les Paul, like I said earlier, it's got that added dimension of, you can really get into fuzz territory on the bass strings, which just makes it even more fun. Oh, I'm starting to get a bit carried away now then. So, okay, let's switch over to the overdrive channel like we did before. DS1's off. But obviously, you know, because of the humbuckers, it's just very overdriven already. Right, and this is where the fun happens. Now, and of course, another advantage of the humbuckers is they book the hum, right? So we're going to have less issues with noise, I think, as the distortion goes up. Let's just back off that distortion a bit, because I don't really want it to go into fuzz all of the time. Let's try it with the volume boosted. Or even, you know, with the gain down and boosted. So bypass, boosted. Yeah, so that's just whacking the front end of the amp and just making it even more overdriven. Let's just try that with a bit more tone. Right, so neck pickup. Let's turn off the tone of the guitar. Now I watched the pedal show, do a video on this pedal, and they were getting a lot of kind of fuzz tones out of it, which I didn't really like, and which are easier to get on the Les Paul, but it's your choice, you know. It just depends how much distortion, but I think with a Les Paul, it's easier to get into that fuzz territory than it is with a Strat, right? So I think the Strat sort of went more into a heavy overdrive distortion. This is more distortion going a little bit back to overdrive, but then introducing a little bit of fuzz as well. So now I'm going to back the distortion right off. See, so even with the distortion off, it's still introducing a little bit of fuzz into your tone. That's on. That's off. Is it good, is it bad? I'll let you decide. But it's a lot of fun. Right, so now I'm going to max the gain on the amp. Right. Okay. Full everything. So now you're kind of into that sort of, you know, like that American Woman type tone. So let's just back the gain up. Let's just back the gain off. Let's get that tone off. Yeah. Let's go the neck pick up and let's go for that Garimoa thing again. Easy that time, eh? It's great. Yeah, so I think that just about covers it. What I will do though, I'm going to switch back over to the Strat, right? And I know that we've covered like a lot of different things that this pedal can do, and I think we've kind of proved its versatility. You know, it can go from overdrive to distortion to fuzz. I'll just take that out. You know, it can handle lowish output pickups. It can handle high output pickups. That's no problem. But what I wanted to just try was, you know, what would happen into a clean amp, and then, you know, could we use this just as a clean boost pedal? I doubt it. Into a Strat, right? You know, and that would really impress, I think. So clean. Let's make it clean. Right, okay, DS1, right? No distortion. Here we go. Let's back that off a bit. So there, right? Right, clean. Boosted. Let's get that tone to 9 o'clock. Right, clean. Crystal. DS1. Almost. Bit more treble. Bit more hair. There's a bit more hair, yes. Right, let's go for full volume. So interesting. So would you believe, you know, we can actually use the DS1, you know, I think provided you've got pretty low gain in your amp, or you've got high headroom and you've got lowish output pickups, you know, you can go from this to, dare I say it, a transparent boost. Am I saying that? It's definitely got the high end, right? It's definitely maintained the high end. Obviously you've got more volume, obviously you've got more hair on the notes, right? That's me playing with the volume on the guitar. It's not mushing out like it would on a tube screamer. I think that's pretty transparent, if you're asking me. It's maintaining the highs, and that's only on, like, you know, 9 o'clock on the tone. If you want to add more zing to it, so what I'm trying to say is, I think this pedal can do everything. I think it can do it all. It can do the clean boost. It can be your basic overdrive / distortion sound. You choose what you want. It can get the overdrive sounds. It can get the distortion sounds. It can sound like a fuzz with a Les Paul. I struggled making it to sound fuzzy with a Strat, if I'm being honest. But yeah, let's just try and conclude this video, right? I mean, the big surprise for me was the versatility. You know, whatever I throw at that pedal there, it could do it. And it's all really, I mean, the higher the volume control is, right, that is giving you more oomph, right? The key thing is the tone control, yeah. This is kind of the range, you know, 0 to just past 9 o'clock, where I found, you know, the best results. You know, if I was using it as a clean boost there, you know, probably a bit more. But that's just me. Who says that anybody, you know, nobody else could use it above there? It just depends on the tones that they want. Yeah, you know, the distortion. What can I say? It's just such a, you know, such a versatile range, from just a little bit of hair, like we've just demonstrated there, to, you know, full on endless sustain. You know, with a Les Paul, I'd say, you know, it does start to get very unruly. It goes into that fuzz territory. It goes into that, you know, that, you know, when that pedal show did it, I didn't really like the tones that they were getting, but, you know, maybe it was just their gear, but it was all of the tones that they were getting were fuzzy tones. But it doesn't have to be that way. You know, really, does it suit the Les Paul or the Strat better? I think the kind of instant gratification was the Les Paul, you know, when it just instant, endless sustain, which was great, but it does veer into the fuzz a bit early. I think the Strat is where it's at with this, I think, because it makes the Strat even more. You've got a versatile guitar, you know, the world's most versatile guitar, and is this the world's most versatile distortion overdrive pedal? I think it is. You know, in the past, I've always found overdrive pedals to be a little bit predictable. You know, they run out of the gain range quite quickly. You know, if it's a SD1, you've got that mid hump, which causes problems when you're trying to back off your guitar volume. I just think the sheer range on this, you can do anything with it, really. Plus it just looks brilliant, you know, bright orange. It's built like a tank. I think I've missed out on about the last 30 years. I think I should have got one of these 30 years ago when I first walked into the guitar shop. I should have picked one of them up straight away and then got, I mean, I know more now than I did then. Maybe that's the thing. I've got more experience, so I know what to do with it. But if I had just got one of these, you know, back in the day, it would have solved a lot of problems that I try to get around over the next 30 years. You know, tube screamer, it's too muddy. What do I do? How do I boost that? I mean, if you use this with something like, you know, stacked as well, I mean, dare I say it, 2 of these stacked, I would love to try that. You know, one DS1 stacked into the other. You know, what about, you know, the other variants of this pedal? I mean, I'm going to keep this. I don't see any reason to, you know, to get you know, the BOSS Wazzacraft, which has got another switch set in the middle, which gives you more mids. But what I will say, I am using a Marshall, right? I have got the mids. Now, you maybe want to get the Wazza version if you're using something like a Fender to give you those mids, but this, maybe I got lucky, you know, maybe because I'm going into a Marshall and I've got the Strat and the Les Paul close at hand, you know, maybe it was easy to make it sound good in this video. And, you know, and by the way, this was just a one-shot take video that I just thought I'd do for a bit of fun. This is not, there's no editing or anything like that. So maybe I just got lucky, you know, you put this into a Marshall or any mid-heavy amp and it's going to work the best. I don't know, but it's worked. Anyway, I think I'm starting to waffle, so it must be approaching the end of the video. So, thanks for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. I've got a competition, a giveaway. I'm giving away 5 pieces of guitar recording equipment. That's going to end on the 31st of January 2025. So please check out the channel for those videos. I've done a separate video for each prize. If you want to purchase this pedal, you know, let's not forget, this is a cheap pedal, right? This is 60-ish pounds still, and it's still the same pedal that it was in 1978. It still sounds the same. Nothing's changed. You know, it is a legendary guitar pedal, right? And it always has been. But yeah, I'll put some affiliate links as well if you want to purchase one. And that'll help out the channel immensely. Thank you very much. And that's it. The BOSS DS-1 Distortion pedal is brilliant. See you in the next one. Bye.